Most men have no idea what women secretly want, and that's not your fault. Women often communicate their deeper needs in subtle ways. Small reactions, quiet expectations, or emotional shifts that most guys never learned how to read. They'll rarely say these things directly, not because they're hiding anything, but because they expect you to understand their signals without needing step-by-step instructions. This is where men get confused. You try harder, you show more effort, you become more available, yet nothing seems to change. What you don't realize is that you're operating on the wrong assumptions. Once you understand the 8 quiet desires women rarely talk about, and the Stoic rules that help you respond with calm confidence, everything becomes clearer. You stop guessing, stop overthinking, and start showing up as the grounded, stable man she naturally trusts and gravitates toward. Before we continue, tell me, do you think women are more direct or indirect with their desires? You're doing everything right. You text her back quickly, you're respectful, you show interest, and you make yourself available because you genuinely care. But somehow, instead of getting closer, she starts pulling away. Her texts slow down, her tone changes, and you can feel the distance growing even though you're trying harder than ever. It's frustrating, and most men end up thinking they said or did something wrong. The truth is, most men misunderstand what women actually respond to. We assume women want attention, emotional intensity, or constant reassurance. We think being extra nice or overly available shows we're serious. But in reality, women often want something much deeper. Things you can't communicate through emojis, long messages, or trying to be the perfect gentleman. They want presence. They want emotional stability. They want a man who is calm, grounded, and confident in himself, not someone who panics the moment the connection feels uncertain. These deeper desires are subtle and rarely spoken directly. Most men never learn how to read them because no one teaches this in school, at home, or anywhere. And that's where Stoic philosophy becomes a game changer. Stoicism isn't about being cold or distant. It's about mastering yourself, your reactions, your emotions, your mindset. When you understand these principles, you start showing up in a way that naturally aligns with what modern women are drawn to. The Stoic rules of presence, discipline, and emotional self-control reveal exactly what women crave but almost never verbalize. Here is your expanded 4,000-character version, written in a raw, human, direct tone, avoiding repetition, avoiding poetic language, and staying practical and grounded. Here are 8 things American women secretly want but almost never say, and the Stoic rule behind each one. Most men assume these needs are obvious, but the truth is, women rarely verbalize them because they want a man to sense them through his behavior, not wait for instructions. Each desire connects directly to a Stoic principle that shapes how a man carries himself. 1. Quiet confidence. Women don't want loud bragging or a man who needs a crowd to feel important. What they actually respond to is a calm presence, someone who walks into a room without trying to dominate it. Quiet confidence shows up in small ways. How you speak, how you handle pressure, how you deal with challenges without complaining. It's the type of certainty that doesn't look for applause. Stoic rule: stand tall. Trust your actions, not your words. To her, your behavior carries more weight than your promises. She watches how you handle yourself when things don't go your way. 2. Emotional leadership. Women don't expect you to solve every problem, but they pay close attention to how you respond when things get emotional. Do you panic? Do you shut down? Do you get defensive? Women are naturally tuned to emotional shifts, and they want a man who can stay steady even when they feel overwhelmed. Emotional leadership isn't about controlling her. It's about controlling yourself so she can relax around you. Stoic rule: control your emotions, or they control you. When you stay calm, she feels safe. When you lose control, she feels like she has to lead, and that's when attraction starts to break down. 3. Consistency over intensity. A lot of men start strong. Constant attention, compliments, affection. But after the first week or two, they slowly pull back, get comfortable, or lose discipline. Women notice inconsistency immediately. What they want is a man who shows up with the same steady energy every day, not someone who switches between being all in and emotionally unavailable. Stoic rule: discipline beats desire. Consistency communicates stability. It shows her you're grounded, not acting out of impulse or insecurity. 4. Purpose bigger than the relationship. One of the most magnetic qualities a man can have is a clear direction in life. When a man has purpose, career goals, personal growth, meaningful projects, he becomes more attractive because his life has structure. Without purpose, he becomes clingy or overly dependent on the relationship for identity. Stoic rule: let your purpose guide your steps. A man who is driven doesn't chase validation. His focus makes him harder to shake and more interesting to be around. 5. Respectful strength. Women want a man who can protect, support, and stand firm when things get tough. Not someone who uses strength to intimidate or dominate. Respectful strength is about being firm without being aggressive, assertive without being controlling. It shows in how you handle conflict and how you set boundaries without blowing up. Stoic rule: power is calm, not loud. A man who can stay composed when others get reactive earns deep respect. 6. Stability in chaos. Life gets messy: work stress, emotional challenges, unexpected problems. Most people become reactive or anxious when things go wrong. But the man who remains steady during chaos stands out. Women remember how you behave when everything is falling apart. Emotional stability is one of the biggest predictors of long-term attraction. Stoic rule: be the rock the waves crash against. If she knows she can rely on you during chaos, she naturally relaxes around you. 7. Genuine interest in her mind. Physical attraction matters, but what keeps a woman invested is whether she feels mentally and emotionally seen. Asking thoughtful questions, listening without interrupting, and remembering the details she shares signals emotional maturity. She wants a man who values her thoughts, not just her appearance. Stoic rule: seek first to understand. When she feels understood, trust grows. When she feels judged or dismissed, she pulls away. 8. Boundaries. This is the most misunderstood trait. Many men think being flexible and agreeable makes them a better partner, but it often has the opposite effect. Women respect a man who can say no without guilt or fear. Boundaries communicate self-respect, which automatically increases her respect for you. Stoic rule: a man who respects himself trains the world how to treat him. A man with boundaries doesn't need to argue or over-explain. He simply stands firm. Which of these 8 qualities do you want to master first? Here's how to apply these Stoic rules starting today. No complicated routines. No dramatic lifestyle changes. These are simple, realistic habits that any man can start immediately. Habits that actually shift how you carry yourself and how people experience your presence. 60 seconds of stillness every morning. Before you touch your phone, before you dive into the noise of the day, give yourself 1 minute of silence. Sit still. Breathe normally. Let your mind settle. This tiny habit trains emotional control better than any motivational quote. When your day begins with calm instead of chaos, you move differently. You respond differently. You stop getting dragged into every problem as if it's the end of the world. That 1 minute builds the foundation for the mindset you carry the rest of the day. Respond, don't react. Most men lose control in moments of pressure. A text annoys them, someone says something sharp, or their partner gets emotional, and before thinking, they fire back. One deep breath changes everything. That pause gives your brain space to choose clarity over impulse. Women notice when a man can stay composed in emotional moments. It communicates maturity, stability, and confidence. Every time you respond instead of reacting, you reinforce your self-control and make the situation easier to navigate. Keep small promises to yourself. Big goals are impressive, but small promises build character. Wake up on time. Finish the task you said you'd finish. Drink the water you said you'd drink. These tiny commitments stack up, and over time they shape your identity. Confidence isn't built by hype. It's built by discipline. When you repeatedly do the things you told yourself you would do, you start trusting yourself. You walk differently. You speak differently. You stop seeking validation because you already feel grounded in your own consistency. Build your purpose 15 minutes at a time. You don't need 4 hours a day to work on yourself. Start with 15 minutes. One skill, one area of growth. Use that time to improve something meaningful: fitness, communication, career skills, mental strength, anything that sharpens you. Purpose doesn't appear overnight. It comes from daily investment, small steps that begin to shift your identity. When you're pursuing something bigger than the relationship, you naturally become more attractive because your life has direction. Purpose makes you magnetic because it creates momentum. Set one boundary this week. Pick one thing that drains your energy, one habit, one request, one situation, and say no. No apologies. No long explanations. Just a calm, simple, "I can't do that." Most men struggle here because they fear disappointing people or losing connection. But boundaries are one of the strongest signals of self-respect. The moment you set a boundary, you teach people how to treat you. You also show women that you're not afraid to stand firm, even if it's uncomfortable. And yes, your confidence grows the second you stop abandoning yourself to please others. Why these habits matter. When you start living this way, something shifts inside you. You become steadier, clearer, more grounded. You don't get pulled into emotional storms as easily. You don't chase for reassurance. You don't rely on reactions or validation to feel stable. Women notice this without you trying. They feel the difference in how you carry yourself, how you talk, how you make decisions. Stoic habits aren't about being emotionless. They're about creating a stable core so you can lead your life with intention instead of anxiety. If you want more Stoic psychology, attraction science, and emotional mastery, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment on which of the 8 traits you're working on next. Your comment helps the video reach more people, and it also keeps you accountable to your own growth. Because the moment you start mastering yourself, everything changes. You stop chasing approval, and people start gravitating toward you naturally. When you control your inner world, the outer world reacts differently. That's the quiet power of Stoic masculinity.